My name is Evelyn Carter, and for most of my life, I believed that being a good mother meant giving everything to my son: my time, my support, my love, my forgiveness. But I never expected that one day, protecting him would mean protecting myself from him. This is the story of how, after my husband died, I inherited something I never told my son about. And why keeping that secret is the only reason I still have a home and a life worth living. Before I begin, if you enjoy emotional storytelling, the kind that feels real, raw, and cinematic, I hope you will like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters, and someone out there may need to hear what you have to say.
Alright. Let us start from the beginning.
I met Michael Carter when I was 28. He was warm in a quiet way, the kind of man who fixed things no one noticed were broken: a squeaky door hinge, a leaky faucet, a hurting heart. He wasn't dramatic or grand, but he was steady. The kind of steady that becomes the foundation of an entire life.
We built a home together.
We raised one child, Daniel, our only son. We worked, we saved, we aged gently side by side. I thought we had decades left. But life rarely asks permission before it takes something from you.
Michael got sick.
And then he got sicker. And then, one cold December morning, holding my hand, he simply slipped away. Losing him felt like losing gravity. I walked through the world lighter, emptier, as though pieces of me had drifted off with him. But what I didn't know then was that Michael had left me something more than memories. Something he didn't tell me about while he lived. Something that would later become both a blessing and a shield. A month after the funeral, the lawyer called. I assumed it was paperwork. Things to sign. Accounts to close. But when I sat across from Attorney Lawrence, a silver-haired man with soft eyes, he smiled gently and said,
"Evelyn, Michael left you something important."
I frowned. "He left everything to Daniel," I said automatically. "That was always the plan. We talked about it." "Not everything," the lawyer replied. "He made an amendment." He opened a folder and slid a document toward me.
My breath caught.
It was a deed to a piece of property in another state. A small coastal house in Maine, a place we had visited once on vacation, years ago, before Daniel was even born. I remembered the trip fondly. The ocean. The seagulls. The handmade wooden sign in the town square. Michael had stood on the rocky shoreline and said, "Someday, Evie, I want to bring you back here." But he never mentioned buying property. Never mentioned owning anything outside our home.
What is this?"
I whispered. "Husband bought it 6 years ago," the lawyer said. "Cash. Maintenance has been handled through an agency. He kept it private." "Why?" I asked. Why wouldn't he tell me? The lawyer smiled sadly. "He wrote a note. For you." My fingers trembled as I unfolded the small handwritten page. "Evie, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't give you the life I wanted for the full length we deserved.
So I am leaving you something that is yours, only yours.
Not to be divided. Not to be questioned.
Not to be taken.
You've spent your whole life giving. This is something I need you to keep. Please, don't tell Daniel about it. Not yet.
You'll know why someday.
Love always.
Michael." Tears blurred the ink. I sat there for a long moment, holding the note like a lifeline. "Don't tell Daniel. You'll know why someday."
At the time, it sounded mysterious. Strange, even. But I obeyed. Not because I feared my son. But because loving someone deeply doesn't mean you ignore your partner's final wish. And Michael. He never asked for much. When people hear I didn't tell my son about the house, they judge me instantly.
Why hide things from your child?
You should trust him. That's how families fall apart. But here's the truth.
Daniel grew up adored.
Not spoiled in the traditional sense, but protected. I shielded him from hardship. Michael worked overtime so he'd never feel the sting of not having enough. Daniel was smart. Charming. But he was also used to getting what he wanted. Michael once told me, he needs to learn patience. I brushed it off as a normal parent worry. But after reading Michael's final note, I felt something shift inside me, a quiet realization that maybe my husband had seen things I couldn't. Maybe giving Daniel everything wasn't the same as preparing him for life. And so I kept the house in Maine a secret. For a while, it didn't matter. Daniel was living his own life, finishing college, starting a job, dating casually. We got through the first year without Michael, in a haze of grief and readjustment. But then things changed. And not for the better. Daniel moved back home temporarily, after losing his job. He promised it would be for a few months. He promised he was applying everywhere. He promised he would help out. But promises are only as strong as the person making them. He slept in. He stayed out late. He left dishes in the sink, dirty laundry on the floor. And every conversation about responsibility ended the same way. Mom, I'm going through a lot.
Don't pressure me.
I tried to understand. Grief affects people differently. The world was harsh. The job market unpredictable. I told him I loved him. I told him I was proud of him. I told him he would find his footing again. But then he started asking questions. It began casually. Mom, what are we living on now that Dad's gone? Mom, do we have savings? Mom, did Dad have insurance? Mom, you're not struggling, are you? I thought he was worried. But I learned quickly he wasn't asking out of concern. One night at dinner, he asked, "So, how much did Dad leave me?" I froze. "Your father left us both enough to stay stable," I said carefully. "You don't need to worry about that right now." Daniel frowned. "Oh, come on, Mom.
You know what I mean.
I'm his son. His only son. There must be something specific he set aside for me." Something tightened in my chest. "He didn't leave individual accounts," I said. "Just the joint savings, which I'm managing." He leaned back in his chair, skeptical. "That seems odd."
It is the truth. He studied me.
And in that moment, something cold passed between us.
A flicker of suspicion. A flash of entitlement.
It was the first time I saw it, the thing Michael must have sensed long before I did. Daniel wasn't asking what we had. He was asking what he had. Weeks passed, and Daniel's questions became more frequent and more pointed.
Why don't you show me the accounts?
Don't I have a right to see where Dad's money went? You're not planning to spend everything, are you? It hurt. Not because he wanted security, that's human. But because he no longer trusted me. One night, he said something that sliced right through me. "Mom, Dad wouldn't want you making all the decisions alone."
I am the man of the house now. Man of the house.
I wanted to laugh. Or cry. Or both. Michael had never believed in that phrase. He believed in partnership, in shared responsibility, in compassion. But Daniel didn't want responsibility. He wanted control. And he had no idea how close he was to taking something from me I could never get back. Things escalated when Daniel introduced me to someone new. Her name was Sienna. She was pretty, polished, confident, but something about her felt calculated. She complimented me aggressively. She asked invasive questions. She acted like Daniel already belonged to her. And on her third visit, she asked, "So, what's the inheritance situation?" Daniel said his dad left quite a bit. My breath stopped. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Sienna, don't."
What? She laughed.
"It's normal to ask."
We rebuilding a future together.
Future?
I said slowly. You two just met.
We've been talking for a while, she corrected, with a smile too wide to be sincere. And Daniel told me you haven't been transparent about the finances. Something snapped inside me. Daniel looked away, embarrassed. "Sienna," I said calmly, "my finances are not your concern." She blinked innocently. "Oh, I didn't mean to offend you. I just think it's important for the family to be open." Family.
Open.
Words that meant something very different coming from her. After she left, I faced Daniel. You told her about the money? He scowled. I told her you were being weirdly secretive. Which you are.
I placed my hands on the table to steady myself.
Daniel, what exactly do you think is happening here? He stared at me, jaw tight. I think there's more than you're telling me, and I think Dad would want me to know what he left behind. The room felt smaller. The air felt colder. And for the first time, I understood exactly why Michael had written what he did. Tension simmered for weeks. Small arguments turned into big ones.
Daniel's resentment grew.
Sienna whispered in his ear.
One evening, Daniel marched into the living room holding papers.
Mom, I need you to sign these. I took them slowly. They were power of attorney forms. They would give him the right to manage my finances, all of them. My stomach twisted. Daniel, I whispered, why would you think I'd ever sign these? Because you're not handling things right, he snapped.
You re-emotional. You re-grieving.
You're making decisions without thinking about our future. Our future. Mine and Sienna's, he corrected. We're planning to move out, but we need to know what we're working with. And honestly, Mom, it'd be easier if I managed the money. I stared at him, heartbreaking.
You want control.
I want stability.
No, I said softly. You want power.
He clenched his fists. If you don't sign this, he said, then I'll assume you're hiding something. And I'll take legal action if I have to.
My breath froze in my chest.
Legal action. Against his own mother.
My vision blurred with tears.
I have given you everything, I whispered. How dare you threaten me like this? He said nothing. Because he didn't need to. His silence said enough. That night, I pulled out Michael's note again.
Don, tell Daniel.
Not yet.
You'll know why someday.
I finally knew why. If Daniel had known about the house in Maine, the one thing that was legally, irrevocably mine, he would have tried to take that too. He would have pressured me. Manipulated me. Maybe even forced me into signing it over. But he couldn't. Because he didn't know. And that secret was the reason I was still standing.
I barely slept the night Daniel handed me the power of attorney papers.
I lay awake listening to the house settle, the hum of the refrigerator, the soft ticking of the clock on the hallway wall. These sounds had comforted me for years. But now, they only reminded me how vulnerable I was. How easily everything could be taken. At 3 a.m., I got out of bed, wrapped Michael's old sweater around my shoulders, and walked quietly into his study, the room I hadn't entered since he died. His scent still clung faintly to the shelves. Wood polish. Coffee. The gentle smell of old books and papers. I sat at his desk, opened the drawer, and pulled out his note again.
Don, tell Daniel.
Not yet.
A tremor ran through me. I whispered into the darkness. Michael, how did you know?
But the only answer was silence. The next morning, Sienna came over unannounced. Like she lived there. Like she already saw herself owning the place. She strode into the kitchen wearing a bright sundress, hair perfectly curled, perfume trailing behind her. "Morning, Evelyn," she said cheerfully, as if she hadn't just encouraged my son to steal my autonomy. I stood by the stove, stirring oatmeal. "What are you doing here?" I asked, unable to keep the cold edge from my voice. Her smile didn't falter. "I came to help," she said sweetly. "Daniel said you're stressed. We thought maybe I could take some things off your plate." I stared at her. She was too young to be so calculated, too polished to be so entitled. "What things?" I asked.
"Oh, bills, mail, paperwork."
She waved her hand casually. "All the things that pile up when someone's grieving." My jaw tightened. "I'm fine handling my own responsibilities." She raised her eyebrows in exaggerated sympathy. "Sure. But Daniel and I just think. Daniel and you need to stop discussing my finances behind my back." Her eyes flashed just for a second. A fracture in her pretty facade. Then she leaned against the counter with deliberate confidence. "Evelyn," she said softly, "you're not getting any younger. Managing money is complicated. We're only trying to help. We. As if they were a team. As if I were the outsider. Before I could respond, Daniel walked in. He didn't greet me. Didn't look at me. He went straight to Sienna and kissed her cheek, like this was their house. "Did you ask her?" he murmured. My heart dropped. "Ask me what?" I demanded. Daniel met my eyes. His expression was no longer that of a struggling young man. It was the cool, practiced look of someone who believed he had the upper hand. "We found a really great apartment," he said. "A nice one. Downtown. Close to my potential new job." "That's good," I said cautiously. "But we need money for the deposit," he continued. "And we figured you could help." My face went cold. "With what money?" "With Dad's money," he said, irritation creeping into his voice. "Mom, it's not complicated. I'm his son. Some of it belongs to me. This is a perfect opportunity to help me get back on my feet." Something inside me cracked. "Daniel," I said, voice trembling, "your father left enough for us to live. Not enough for you and your girlfriend to play house." Sienna's arms folded. "We're adults," she snapped. "Daniel deserves support." "He's gotten support," I said quietly. "For years." Daniel's jaw tightened. "So you're refusing to help?" "I'm refusing to fund your irresponsibility," I said. The room grew still. Sienna broke the silence. "You know," she said, her voice soft but venomous, "Daniel and I were talking last night. And it's kind of concerning that you won't be transparent about the inheritance." I felt heat rise in my chest. "It's not your business, Sienna." "It is," she shot back, "if it affects our future." "Our?" "You're acting like none of this matters," she said. "Like you don't care that Daniel is trying to build a life." "He needs a job," I said firmly. "Not my bank account." Sienna smirked. "We'll see about that." A chill ran up my spine. 2 nights later, Daniel confronted me again, this time more aggressively. He stormed into the living room holding the financial files he had pulled from my desk without permission. "Mom," he shouted, "we need to talk. Now." I stood slowly. "What are you doing going through my things?" "I wouldn't have to," he snapped, "if you'd tell me the truth." "There is no hidden truth." "Yes, there is," he yelled. "Dad didn't leave nothing. And you're acting like I'm some stranger trying to rob you." "You're acting entitled," I said, voice shaking. "I'm acting like a son whose mother is keeping secrets from him." The irony stung. He had no idea how right and wrong he was. Sienna entered the room behind him, arms crossed, lips tight with annoyance. "Just show him everything," she said. "Why is this so hard for you?" "Get out of my house," I whispered. "I live here," Daniel snapped. "No," I said quietly. "You stay here." "Because I let you." That silenced him. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Then, slowly, his expression hardened, not hurt, not confused but angry. "Vindictive. You know what?" he said. "Fine. If you won't tell me, maybe the court will make you." My heart exploded into panic. "Court?" I whispered. "You're threatening me with court?" "I'm not threatening you," he lied. "I'm giving you a chance to do the right thing." "The right thing," I repeated. "According to who?" "According to Dad," he shouted. "He would want me taken care of." "Your father would want you to stand on your own 2 feet," I said. "Not take advantage of me." Sienna scoffed loudly. "Oh, please. You're being dramatic." I turned to her. "You don't speak to me that way in my home." She stepped closer. "This won't be your home much longer if you can't afford it." The air shattered. Daniel didn't stop her. He didn't defend me. He didn't take it back. He just let the words hang there. And for the first time, I realized. They had a plan. They wanted my home. My money. My life, as security. And maybe more. I stepped back, trembling. "Both of you, get out," I said. "Tonight." Daniel stared at me with disbelief, then something even uglier. "You can't kick me out," he said. Yes, I said quietly, I can. Sienna's eyes narrowed. Well, she said, I guess we'll have to rethink how we approach this. Her tone was icy, calculated. Daniel grabbed his keys, slammed the door, and left without another word, leaving me alone in a house that suddenly felt too big, too quiet, too dangerous. The next morning, I packed a small suitcase. Michael's note burned in my mind. You'll know why someday. I knew now. I absolutely knew. If I stayed, Daniel would wear me down emotionally. He would push harder. Sienna would influence him. They would attack from every angle: love, guilt, pressure, manipulation. Until I broke. Until I gave in. I wasn't safe in my own home anymore. And then it hit me. I didn't have to stay. I had an escape. A house no one knew about.
A house Michael chose for me.
A house he knew I would need. My sanctuary.
Maine. I left Daniel a note.
I'm taking some time away. Do not contact me unless it's an emergency. I drove 8 hours north.
The air grew colder.
De triste ayer. The world quieter. By the time I reached the coastline, the sky had turned orange with sunset. And then there it was.
The small house by the sea.
White paint.
Blue shutters.
Weathered porch. Waves crashing softly in the distance. My breath caught. Michael had chosen this. For me. I unlocked the door and entered a space that smelled of wood, ocean, and something else. Peace. Pure, deep peace. For the first time in months, my shoulders relaxed.
My lungs expanded.
My heartbeat slowed to something human again. I was safe. For now. The next morning, I walked through each room, admiring the sunlight on the floors, the gentle creak of the old staircase, the cozy reading nook Michael must have loved. In the kitchen, I noticed a drawer slightly ajar. Inside was an envelope.
My name on it.
I froze. Hands shaking, I opened it. It was Michael's handwriting again. Evie. If you're reading this, then something has happened with Daniel. And I'm sorry. Truly. I love our son. You love our son. But loving someone does not mean ignoring their weaknesses. Daniel struggles with entitlement, with pressure, with fear of inadequacy. I didn't tell you earlier because I thought I could guide him. I thought I had time. But his behavior scared me at times. His reactions. His expectations. His belief that the world owed him something. I needed to know you'd have something he couldn't touch.
Something of your own.
Please don't tell him about this house. And if he ever turns on you the way I fear he might, come here. Let this place protect you, the way I no longer can. I love you, always.
Michael.
I pressed the letter to my chest and sobbed. Not just from grief. From validation.
From heartbreak.
From the realization that my husband had known the truth long before I did. Daniel wasn't the boy we raised. He was the man he had chosen to become. And now I had to choose too. I stayed in the main house for 3 days before my phone rang with a call I'd been expecting and dreading. Daniel. His name flashed across the screen. I didn't answer. A minute later, my voicemail pinged. Mom, what's going on?
Where are you?
Sienna and I came by the house and everything looked the same, but you were gone.
Just call me back, okay?
There was something strange in his tone. Not worry. Annoyance.
Possession.
As if my disappearance inconvenienced him. I let the phone fall silent on the table. I wasn't ready to speak to him. Not yet. Not until I could do so without breaking. Not until I understood who he truly was. The next morning, just after sunrise, the phone rang again. This time, I answered. Mom.
Daniel's voice was sharp, breathless. Where the hell are you?
I'm safe, I said softly.
That's all you need to know.
What does that mean? He snapped. Did Sienna scare you?
Are you being dramatic again? My heart sank. Daniel, I whispered, listen to yourself.
But he didn't. He pushed harder. Look, Mom, you disappearing like this, it's not okay. I need to know what's going on with Dad's inheritance, and you running away just makes you look guilty. Guilty.
The word stung like a slap.
I ran because I needed space. Space for what? He demanded. To make decisions behind my back?
My breath caught. Behind your back.
I repeated.
Daniel, I am your mother, not your dependent. I don't owe you my bank records.
That's not what this is. It's exactly what this is. Silence crackled between us. Then he said something that cleaved the last fragile thread between us. Sienna thinks you might be hiding more than you're saying.
A cold shiver ran up my spine.
You're basing your view of me on what Sienna thinks? Well, she's more objective, he said. She's not emotional.
I closed my eyes.
He didn't hear himself. He didn't hear how deeply he was hurting me.
Daniel, I said softly, I am not coming home yet. I'll talk to you when you re-come.
He exhaled sharply.
You know what?
Fine. But if you don't come back soon, I'm going to have to involve someone. This is getting out of hand. Involve who? I whispered. I don't know, he said. A lawyer. Someone who can make you explain things. The words were a knife twist. He hung up. My hand shook as I lowered the phone, the silence in the house wrapping around me like a cold cloth. Michael had been right. Daniel wasn't just entitled. He was dangerous. On the 6th day, I woke up to the sound of gravel crunching outside the window. Footsteps. Voices. Then a knock on the front door.
My breath froze.
I stepped quietly to the window.
Daniel's car.
Sienna's car. They'd found me.
My pulse hammered in my ears.
Mom.
Daniel's voice called.
Open up. Sienna chimed in, loud and false-sweet.
We just want to talk.
Talk. That word used to mean connection. Now it meant manipulation. I swallowed hard, squared my shoulders, and opened the door, but only a fraction. Daniel pushed forward. His expression wasn't relieved. It wasn't loving. It was irritated. Finally, he snapped. Do you know how far we drove? I didn't ask you to come, I said quietly. Well, we had no choice, Sienna interrupted, stepping past him. You left without telling anyone. That's not normal behavior.
I stared at her.
Leave my home, I said. Sienna's eyebrows shot up.
This is your home.
I froze. I had slipped. I had said too much.
Daniel's eyes widened.
Mom, what does she mean? What home?
The hairs on my arms rose.
I swallowed. This is just a place I'm staying. For who?
Daniel demanded.
Who owns this?
My silence said everything.
You're hiding something, he said, voice sharp. You've had another property this whole time. Sienna stepped forward, victory gleaming in her eyes. Well, she said softly, that explains why you wouldn't share anything. Daniel pointed toward the interior of the house.
We going inside.
I stepped in front of him.
No.
He blinked in disbelief.
No.
You are not welcome here, I said. His jaw dropped. Mom, stop. This is ridiculous. If this place is part of Dad's estate, I have a right to see it. It's not part of his estate, I said firmly. It's mine. He recoiled. What? This house. Your father bought it for me.
Explicitly for me.
Before he died. His face contorted.
What do you mean for you?
Why wouldn't he tell me? Why wouldn't he tell us? Because he knew you'd react like this.
A long, dangerous silence.
Then Daniel exploded. So you've been lying to me? He shouted.
You been hiding money?
Hiding property? Hiding Dad's legacy from his only son. It wasn't his legacy, I said, voice trembling. It was his gift. To me. And he asked me not to tell you. Sienna stepped close to Daniel, placing a hand on his arm. Oh, honey, she murmured, I'm so sorry. The words were sweet, but the look she gave me over his shoulder was triumphant. Predatory. Cold.
Daniel shook with fury.
I cannot believe this, he whispered. You kept something like this from me?
After everything?
After Dad died. I felt something inside me harden like cooling steel. I kept it from you, I said, because your father knew, and now I know that if you had access to it, you